Alright, Part 180, Title 49, Chapter 1. Part 180, Subpart E, Qualification Maintenance for the Cargo Tanks. The subpart prescribed the requirement addition for these contained Part 107, 171, 172, 173, 178, subchapter applicable to any person responsible for containing qualification maintenance for the periodic testing of any cargo. Definition: any definition contained in Statute 171.8 and the 178.320A and the 178.345-1, subchapter for the following definition may apply to this part. Corroded and eroded means for the visible reduction material thickness for the cargo tank, the wall, with the value due to the pitting, the flaking, the gouging, the chemical reaction from the metal surface with the infects, safety, serviceability of the cargo tank. The term does not include with the cosmetic minor surface degradation, does not affect the safety with the serviceability with the cargo. The corrosive tank valve means the landing of the head shown through the experience and test date to reduce the thickness of the material with the construction on the tank of the wall valve. The delivery hose that means of liquid. The delivery hose attached for the coupling modification means any change of the original design. Construction of the cargo tank motor vehicle that has effect of the structural integrity relating to the retention of the capability, including change of the equipment control certified as part of the emergency discharge control system required in Statute 173, 315, and 2 of the subject or modification tank of the wall involved with the welding on the cargo tank wall. Must also make the requirement of the prepared defined section and exclude the category of the following: the change of the motor vehicle, the equipment such as the light truck with a tractor and powertrain, the components, the change of the brake system, the components and part, any change of the appurtenancy such as the fender attachments, lightning bracket, the ladder bracket, the replacement of the components such as the valve vents and the fittings of the components of similar design but the same size. Owner means the person who owns the cargo tank or the motor vehicle then is used for the transportation has the material for the other than the person authorized agent. Piping system means any component of the cargo tank's delivery system other than the delivery hose assembly contained with the product with the during the load and unloading. Rebarreling means replacing more than 50% of the combined shell with the half of the material of the cargo tank. Repair means any welding of the cargo tank well done to return the cargo tank of the cargo tank motor vehicle to its original design. Construction specification for the conditions prescribed with the later equivalent and the specification effective at the time of the repair is included in this category of the following: one, chain of the motor vehicle, the equipment such as the light truck or the tractor for the powertrain component, the steering, the braking system, suspension part of the chain, but the appurtenancies such as the fender, bad tensions, attachments, lightning bracket, the ladder bracket, the replacement of the component for the touch of the valve vents from the fittings of the component for the similar design of the same side of the replacement, the improvements of the valve with the mounting pad, replacement of the barrel means to replace the existing tank with the motor vehicle consistent chassis with an unused new tank. For the definition for the tank seats 178, 320, 178, 345, and 178, 338, one of the subchapter is applicable. Sketching means any of the change of the length, width, diameter of the cargo tank of any cargo tank of the motor vehicle under carriage of that may affect with the cargo tank structural integrity. 108.405 qualification of the tank cargo tank of cargo tanks. Generally, you the otherwise provided with the subpart each of the cargo tank of the transportation hazard material must be authorized with the packaging cargo tank and specification of the cargo. Qualified authorized packaging of the cargo tank must be conformed with the subpart applicable to the requirements specified in 173 subchapter of the special landing where the dot specification cargo tank is required with the Apple specification affect with the date of the construction for the beginning with the MC 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, 306, 307, 310, 311, 312, 330, 331, 338.406, 407, 412. However, except for the provided paragraph B2 and DE of the F of the F6 for this section, no cargo tank may be marked for the certified August 31st, 1995 with the Apple, the MC 306, 307, 312, 331, 338 specification is effective 30th, 1990. Exemption: cargo tank originally manufactured by the MC 306, 307, and 312 of the specification may be recertified. The original specification provided with records available. The verification of the cargo was originally manufactured in the specification. If the cargo tank was stretched and rebarreled, modified the record with available to verifying with the sketching of the rebarrel modification performed in accordance with the National Board of Inspection Code that is part of the design certification entered registered inspector verified with the cargo tank performs all applicable to the requirements of the original specification furnished for the owner. Documentation verified for the tank conform with the original structure of the design requirement for the effect of the time of the tank of the original construction for the cargo tank means for all applicable test inspection required within statute 18407C for the original tank with the certified with the original specification for the corner for the reporting with the record retention provision statute 18417. The certification document requirement is 18417A 417A3 with the must include the both the date and then the cargo tank of the originally certified with the specification the date with the recertified with the specification plate on the cargo tank with the cargo tank motor vehicle that must be displayed with the date of the cargo tank originally certified with the specification. Cargo tank specification no longer authorized for the construction. Cargo tank may be specified listed in column 1, table 1, table 2, or table 2 of this paragraph. C1 may be used with authorized within part. The cargo tank involved initial construction began with the before the date listed in the table 1 1, Table 2, Column. If the cargo tank has been marked for the certified before the date is issued, listen to the table of the Column 2 and the Column 2 as valve. The cargo tank specification listed in C1 of the section may have the pressure relief valve with outlets of the described modified as following as follows. The specification MC 301, 300, 301, 302, 303, 305 cargo tank form. The specification MC 306 and .406 cargo tank. The specification MC 306 cargo tank conform with the specification .406 cargo tank. Specified the MC 304 cargo tank conform with the specification MC 307 .407 the cargo tank and the 178 345 11 of subchapter the specification MC 306 cargo tank conform with the specification .40C 407 cargo tank and the specification MC 310 with the MC 311 tank conform with the specification MC 312 with the .412 cargo tank. The specification MC 312 cargo tank conform with the specification .412 cargo tank. Specification M330 cargo tank conform with the specification MC 3301 for the cargo tank except the specified in paragraph statute 173.315 of subchapter. The MC 338 cargo tank of the owner of the cargo tank conforms as well with the owner of the term of the exemption issued with the October 1st, 1984 with the author of the transportation cryogenic liquid to remove the exemption, the number of the sense of the cargo tank stamp with the specification plate placed adjacent with the specification of the MC 338 with the file with the exemption number, the following example, the M 338E with the asterisk with the replace with the exemption number of the cargo tank is removed, remarked with the prior to the exact expiration date with the exemption during the period of the cargo tank with the server the owner of the cargo tank is marked with the manner must retain the principal business place of the business of copy the last exemption of the in fact with the new construction for the cargo tank pursuant to such exemption if the authorized. The holding time of the must be determined that is required in statute 178 338 9 over this chapter, each of the cargo tank of at least one each of the cargo tank, either design subsequent cargo tank manufacturer is the same design type of if not individually tested, must be operational test regime performed during the free shipment of the B and C of the subchapter. The holding time determined of the test of the one authorized cryogenic liquid may be even the basis for the establishment of the holding time for the authorized cryogenic liquid. MC331 cargo tank. The owner of the MC331 cargo tank conformed with that was owner of the exemption with the issue of the October 1st, 1984 authorized the transportation ethanol refrigerated liquid ethanol propane mixture with the refrigerated liquid hydrochloride with the refrigerated liquid shall remove the exemption no more extensive on the cargo tank of the exemption is numbered on the specification plate with the plate placed adjacent to the specification immediately after the dot specification. For example, the dot MC331E with the asterisk to be replaced with the exemption number. The cargo tank must be remarked for the prior to the exemption date expiration date with the exemption during the period of the cargo tank of the server the owner of the cargo tank that is remarked in the manner that must retain all owners' principles place of business, a copy of the last exemption in effect. F. The MC 306, 307, 312 cargo tanks, either the registered inspector for the design with certified engineer of the owner of the MC 306, 307, or MC 312 cargo tank of the motor of the vehicle constructed within corner with and used under the exemption issued before December 31st, 1990, authorized contained specified with the paragraph shall examine the cargo tank motor vehicle as designed and determined that meets with the requirements of the applicable MC 306, 307, and 312 specification in effect with the time of the manufacture with the exemption specified herein. A cargo tank motor vehicle will be constructed after August 1st, 1981, with the date specified applicable exemption to conform with the following conditions will apply. That apply may be remarked with the certified in accordance with the paragraph F5, 6, and 5 and 6. The section vacuum loaded cargo tank must have the ASME code stamp the specification plate marked with a minimum internal design pressure 25 psi gauge with a design minimum external design pressure of 15 psi gauge. An outlet equipped with the self-enclosing system will include with the external stop valve that must have the stop valve with the associated piping protected with the vehicle rear tank with the protection device the vehicle frame with the equally adequate accident damage to the protection device. Self-closing system must be equipped with the remotely actuated means of the closure as valves. For the cargo tank, used in other corrosive surfaces of the remote means closure with the activated for the closure of the manual mechanical means, but in any case for the fire, the automatic heat with the activated with the means. For the cargo tank, used with the corrosive surface of the remote move, the closure of the main be activated manually with the mechanical means only. A cargo tank having the unreinforced portion of the shell exceeding 60 inches must have the circumferential reinforcement located with the thickness of the tensile strength of the shell of the material combination of the frame with the circumferential reinforcement procedure structural integrity of the least equal to the prescribed in Statute 178-345-3 with the subchapter the specifications in effect with the manufacturer. 5. The cargo tank shall have the projection of the tank shell with the head of the may leave with the tank with the link of any of the tank position with authorized provided with such projection strong with the tank shell head with the located with the motor vehicle with the rear end of the tank projection. Other appropriate adjacent damage protection. The device of the cargo tank may be constructed with a nickel, titanium, and other ASME sheet with the plate of the material in accordance with the exemption of the vacuum loaded with the cargo tank with construction after August 1st, 1981, with the date specified applicable exemption in conform with the paragraph F1 with the section exemption with the outlet equipped with the external valve, which is not part of the self-containing system, must be equipped with the self-containing system prior to the September 1st, 1993, may be marked and certified in accordance with paragraph F6, F5, and F6 of the section of the cargo tank motor vehicle that has equipped with the self-closing system. The vacuum-loaded cargo tank of the construction prior to August 1st, 1981, conforms with the paragraph F1 of the section, with the except for the paragraph F11, with the may be remarked with the certified in accordance with the paragraph F156 for the section of the vacuum-loaded cargo tank of the construction prior to August 1st, 1981, conforms with the paragraph F1 of the section, for example, the paragraph F11 for the section except for the outlet with equipped with external valve which is not part of the self-closing system. 1. That must be equipped with the self-closing system prior to September 1st, 1993. The remark for the certified in accordance with paragraph F5 through F6 for the section cargo tank motor vehicle has been equipped with the self-closing system. The owner in the cargo tank with determination has been made with the cargo tank to conform with the paragraph F1, 2, 3, and 4 of the section has complete with the written certification in English and signed with the owner with the containing the least of the following information. A statement certifying the cargo tank conforms with statute 180-405 F1, 2, 3, and 4 with the applicable inspection number, the applicable specification number, the owner, manufacturer, serial number of the cargo tank. A statement of the set forth with any of the modification bring with the cargo tank in the conformance with statute 180 with the 405 F1, 2, 3, and 4 or 5, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and an applicable specification statement identified with the person certifying the cargo tank with the date of the certification. The owner certified cargo tank shall remove the exemption of the number of the sensor on the cargo tank should durably mark with the specification plate with the plate adjacent to the specification MC+++ E where or plus is to replace for the appropriate specification numbered by asterisks by exemption of the pound by alloy. 7. A cargo tank remarked with the certified and conform with the paragraph F of the described with the provision of the statute 180-405C with during the period of the cargo tank of the certificate 1 year thereafter the owner of the cargo tank of the certified the remark with the man must retain with on the file with the principal the place of the business copy of the certified if it lacks exemption in effect. The cargo tank of manholes assembly MC 306 307 312 with the cargo tanks marked with the certified on December 30th 1990 the .406 407 the .412 of the cargo tank motor vehicles must be equipped with a manhole assembly conformance with the statute 178 345 F of the subchapter on and before August 31st, 1995, each of the owner of the cargo tank marked for the certified with the before the December 31st, 1990, authorized for the transportation of hazardous material must have the cargo tank equipped with the manhole assembly, forms of the statute 178-345F, exempt the dimensional requirement of the statute 178-345-5A with the hydrostatic testing of the 178-345-5B with the marking requirements of 178-345E with the subchapter of the manhole assembly meeting with one of the following provisions in considering complying with the paragraph of the manhole on the MC 300, 301, 32, 303, 305, 306, 310, 311, and 312 cargo tanks are marked with care certified in running conformance with statute 178, 345, of the subchapter TTMARP number 6198, or as tested and certified in accordance with the TTMT technical bulletin number 107, manhole assembly to MC304 and MC307 cargo tanks, manhole assembly at MC310, 311, and 312 cargo tanks with a test pressure for 36 psi gauge or greater. 3 is reserve pressure relief system. Properly functioning reclosing the pressure relief of the valve, the flangeable, the reusable, the vent not be replaced with the valve with the replacement of the reclosing the pressure relief valve of the MC specification cargo tanks is authorized subject to the following the requirements. Until August 31st, 1998, the owner of the cargo tank may replace with the reclosing the pressure relief valve device for the complying with the requirements of the pressure relief device in effect with the time of the cargo tank of the make specification becomes suspended with the pressure relief device installed with an integral part of the manhole as assembly with the manhole covered with completely with the requirements of paragraph G of this section. After the August 31st, 1998, the replacement any of the reclosing repressure of the relief valve may be capable of receiving with the leaking in the type of the condition of the pressure served with the volume landing of the release many of the not exceeding 1L with the specified requirements of the pressure relief of the valve is set forth in 178.345.10b3 with the subchapter as provided in paragraph C2 with the section the owner of the cargo tank of the may elect to modify the reclosing of the pressure relief device to more recent cargo with the tank specification. However, the replacement device constructed requirements of statute 178.345.10 with the subchapter must be provided with the minimum venting capacity required with the original specification to which the cargo tank was designed and constructed. The flammable, the site cryogenic for each of the cargo tank that you with the transportate flammable, the cryogenic liquid examined after shipment to determine the in an actual holding time. The withdrawal of the certification special cargo tank of any of the reason no longer meet for the applicable specification may not be used for the transportation has material and life of the cargo tank to repair and attest in accordance with the statute 180 war 13 10 and 108 180 407 prior to the return of the hazardous material served with the cargo tank to conform with the applicable specification requirement. The specification plate with the cargo tank must be removed without obliterated, securely covered. And the details, condition, necessity withdrawn, but the certification must be recorded and signed with the written certificate with the cargo tank of the vehicle owner, but they will retain the certificate for at least 1 year after the withdrawal of the certification. Alright, the dot specification cargo tank with the mark of the design pressure of the mark with the design pressure left within 3 psi gauge, the owner of the 30. The owner of an MC 301, 300, 301, 302, 303, 305, 306, and 312 cargo tank with a pressure relief valve set with a 3 psi gauge must mark the remark of the cargo tank with the MAWP design pressure not less than 3 psi gauge. The MC 301, 300, 301, 302, 303, 305, 306 can target rear accident damage protection notwithstanding with the requirements for the applicable specification requirement for the rear bumper rear tank of the protection device of the MC 300, 301, 302, 303, 305, and the 306 cargo tank does not apply with the cargo tank truck with a power unit until the July 1st, 1992. But the cargo tank truck was manufactured with July 1989. It is due to the transport gasoline and the petroleum distillated product is operated with the combination cargo tank of the full trailer however the empty cargo tank trailer without any cargo tank fully trailer attached with the may be operated with the required with the bank bump at the rear end of the tank with the projection of the device with a one-time basis while being transported to the repair facility installation of the rear bump at the rear end with the protection device. Each cargo tank should provide with the rear accident damage protection device protect the tank of the piping in the event with the rear end of the collision reduce the likelihood of damage if it could result in the loss of a landing of the rear end of the protection device must be informed of the rear end of the tank of the protection device meeting with the requirements of the statute 178.345 D8 rear bumper meeting the following the bumper shall be located with 6 inches to the rear of any of the vehicle component using the loading and unloading that must contain landing with the vehicle in transit. The dimension of the bumper shall conform with the statute 339.86 for this chapter of this title. The structure of the bumper must be designed in accordance with the statute 178.345 D8D3 with the subchapter specification for the MC 330 and 331 cargo tank motor vehicles with the non-specification cargo tank motor vehicles conforming with 170 and 315C with the 315K with the subchapter intended with the transportation liquid control compressible gas no later than the day of the first schedule of the pressure for the after July 1st 2001 each specification of the MC 330 and 331 cargo tank motor vehicle each for the down specification cargo tank motor vehicle with this 173 315K with the subchapter marked for the certified before the July 1st 2001 you for the transport of division 2-1 materials or division 2-2 materials with the subsidiary has for the division 2-3 materials anhydrous ammonia must have the emergency discharge control capability is specified in the statute 173.315 and with the subchapter each of the passive shut-off system installed with the prior to July 1st 2001 must be certified by a design certifying engineer that is meets the requirements of statute 173.315 and of the chapter. 2. The requirement of the paragraph of the M1 with the section does not apply with a cargo tank equal to less than 3,500 gallons with the water capacity for transporting the material meter delivery service of Division 2-1 material of Division 2-2 with the subsidiary have the anhydrous ammonia equipped with the off truck with a remote with the shut-off device that is installed prior to July 1st, 2000. The device must be capable of stopping the transfer landing with the operation for the transmitter care with the qualified personnel attending and unloading with the cargo tank of the device and subject to the requirement of statute 177.840, subchapter with a daily test of 150 feet. Each specification MC330 and N331 cargo tank of the meter with the delivery service with a greater than 3,500 gallon water capacity transporting Division 2-1 material, Division 2-2 material. The subsidiary has for the anhydrous ammonia marked with certified with the July 1st, 1990 must have the emergency discharge control capability specified in 173.315M, the 177.840. The chapter no later than the day of the first scheduled pressure for the test after July 1st, 2001, July 1st, 2003, whichever is earlier. Thermal area activation. No later than the day of the first scheduled leakage after the July 1st, 1990, each specification of MC 330 and 331 cargo tank. Motor vehicle, each of the non-specification cargo tank and motor vehicle that is conforming with the 173-315K with the subsharp with the mark with the certified before July 1st, 1990, the U with the transportation liquid compressed gas other than carbon dioxide chlorine that has a more capacity of 3,500 gallons or less must be equipped with the means of thermal activation internal self-closing stop valve specified in Statute 178, 337, and 8A4 of the chapter. On truck remote control with the self-closing stop valve of the MC 330, 331, and 338 before October 2nd, 2006. Each owner of the MC 330, 331 cargo tank motor vehicle tank with equipped with before January 1st, 1995 must equip the cargo tank with an on-vehicle with remote control means the closure of the internal self-closing stop valve within conformance with Statute 178, 337, and 8A4. Subchapter the requirement does not apply with the cargo tanks only with the carbon dioxide with the market for the carbon dioxide with intended for use for the chlorine service only. Alright, each owner of the MC-338 cargo tank motor vehicle equipped with the before January 1st, 1995 must equip with a remotely controlled shut-off valve with an on-vehicle with a remote means for the automatic closure is conformed with the War Statute 178, 338, 11C with the subchapter the requirement does not apply with the cargo tank with the use for the transportation of the argon, carbon dioxide, helium, krypton, neon, nitrogen, xenon, or a mixture thereof. Part 18407, the requirement of testing inspection specification for the cargo tanks. A cargo tank of the constructed according to the DAS specification where the test inspection specified in the section has become due may not be filled with the offer of transportation with the transport until the test inspection has been successfully completed. The paragraph does not apply with the cargo tank filled prior to the test inspection due date. If during the pressure test of the cargo tank may not be subject to the pressure greater than its design pressure of the MAWP. A person would need to perform the test inspection specified in the section must meet with the minimum qualifications prescribed in 18409 with each for the cargo tank evaluated in accordance with the acceptable result of the test inspection prescribed in 18411. Each of the cargo tanks successfully passed the test inspection specified with the section must be marked in accordance with 18415. A cargo tank that has failed with the prescribed test inspection must be repaired and tested in accordance with the statute 18413. Removed from the hazard material surface of the specification plate with the removed obliterated covered in the section secure manner. B. The condition retesting the inspection cargo tank without regard to any other test inspection requirement. The amendments for the specification cargo tank must be tested and inspected in accordance with the section prior to the further use. When the cargo tank show evidence then for the cuts and gouges corroded with the abraded area for leakage and any other condition that might render the unsafe for the hazard material, minimum in area of the cargo tank should be evidence of dents for the cuts, digging with the gouge with the corroded with the abraded with the areas that must be thickness within accordance with the procedures set forth in paragraph 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 5, 1, 6 of the section evaluated in accordance with the criteria specified in 18411. Any of the signs leakage must be repaired in accordance with the paragraph 18413. Show the suitability of any repairing affecting the structural integrity of the cargo tank must be determined either by the testing required in the applicable manufacturer specification paragraph G1, 4, and of the section 2. The cargo tank has sustained the damage extent that may be adversely affect the landing of the retention capability of the damaged cargo tank must be pressurized tested in accordance with the procedure set forth in paragraph G of the section. The cargo tank has been out of the hazardous material transportation for the period of 1 year or more. The cargo tank has been out of the hazardous material transportation service for the period of 1 more year. Must be pressurized tested in accordance with the statute 18407G with further use. To reserve, the department is required for existing probable cause that the cargo tank is unsafe for their operating condition. Periodic testing and inspection. The specification cargo tank must be tested and inspected specified with the following table. The inspector meet with the qualifications statute 180-409 with the retested date was determined with the specified interval to identify with the following table the most recent inspection CTMV certification date. External visual inspection testing. The following apply with the external visual inspection testing of the cargo tank. The visual procedure for the complete external visual inspection required with paragraphs D2 through D6 of the section. Cargo tank of this also must give an internal visual inspection according with the paragraph E of the section. External visual inspection is precluded because any part of the cargo tank is externally aligned or code of the design prevent the external visual inspection. Those areas with the cargo tank of the must be with the internally inspected with the internal visual inspection precluded by the design with the cargo tank aligned with the code of design such as the prevent access for the internal inspection. Tank must be hydrostatically pneumatically tested in accordance with the paragraph G1, 4 of the section. Those items that must be externally inspected must be externally inspected and note the inspection report. The external visual inspection testing must include the minimum of the following. The tank shell heads must be inspected corroded with the braided with the air of the dents and distortion affecting well with any other condition, including the leakage that might render with the tank of the unsafe for the transportation service. Piping the valve of gases must be carefully inspected with the corroded with the air of the defective and wells or other conditions, including the leakage that might render with the tank of the unsafe for the transportation services. 3. All devices and tightening of the manhole cover that must be operative and there must be evidence of the leak, no evidence of the leakage of the manhole cover of the gaskets. For all emergency device valve with self-closing stop valve with exhaust for the flow valve, the remote closure device for the must be free with the corrosion, the distortion, the erosion, and the external damage that will prevent safe operation remote closure. Device is self-closing. Stop valve must be functional to demonstrate the proper operation. Missing bolts, nuts, and fusible links elements must be replaced from loose bolts, nuts might be tightened. 4. 7. All marking with the cargo tank replaced in part 172, 178, and 180 with the subchapter must be eligible. 7. Reserved all major prudency structural attachment for the cargo tank, including but not limited to suspension system attachment for the contention for the structural element for the upper coupler left for the fifth element. Fifth wheel assembly will be inspected without the dismantling upper coupler for the fifth wheel. Assembly must be inspected with any of the corrosion damage that might prevent safe operation of cargo tank. The transporting and landing of the corrosion for the tank that is covered with the upper coupler of the fifth wheel. The assembly must be inspected at least once every each of the 2 years before period with the corroded, braided air of the distortion, defects of the wells, any other condition that might render the tank of unsafe for transportation. So for the upper coupler of the fifth wheel assembly must be removed with the cargo tank of the for this inspection. Reclosing pressure relief valves must be externally inspected for any of the corrosion damage that might prevent safe operation. Reclosing of the relief valve of the cargo tank with the carrying, loading, landing of the corrosive of the valve must be removed with the cargo tank of the inspection. Testing the reclosing of the pressure relief valve required with the removal and tested must be tested in accordance with the requirements of the set forth in paragraph J of the section. 4. Ring stiffeners other than their prudencies installed with the cargo tank with the construction of the mid-steel with a high strength low alloy steel. The creative air cavities adjacent to the tank shell that do not allow with the external visual inspection must be thickness for the test according to the paragraph 1, 2, and 1, 3 of the section at least once every 2 years for the at least 4 years. Symmetrical distributed readings may be taken within established the average thickness for the ring stiffener and the prudency and thickness reading in the less than average thickness more than 10% of the thickness. Testing in accordance with paragraph 1, 2, and 1, 3 of the section must be conducted for the inside of the cargo tank on the area of the tank of the wall covered with the prudency stiffener. Corroded or braided area for the cargo tank must be thickness of the accordance with the procedures set forth in paragraph A1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 5, and 1, 6 of this section. The gaskets, the 6 of the gaskets on any of the following open rear head must be visually inspected for the cracks and split caused by the weather or the wear, replaced for the cuts and cracks with likely to cause leakage and or depth of 1/2 inch or more are found. The inspector of the must record the result of the external visual examination specified in 184.17b. Internal visual inspection. When the cargo tank is not equipped with the manhole for the inspection opening with the cargo tank design preclude for the internal inspection of the tank should be hydrostatically and pneumatically tested in accordance with the statute 184.07c. G. Internal visual inspection must include the minimum of the following. The tank shell of the head must be inspected corroded with the braided with the air of the dents and distortion defects in the welds, any other condition that might render the tank unsafe for the transportation of the server. The tank liners must be inspected and specified in 180.07f for the corroded and abraded area for the cargo tank walls must be thickened within tanks for that in accordance with the paragraph 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 5, and 1, 6 of the section. The inspector must record the result of the internal visual inspection specified in statute 184.17b with the lining inspection. Integrity of the lining, all line cargo tank with the one lining required with the subchapter that must be verified at least once each year of the following. Alright, rubber elastomeric lining must be tested as for holes as follows. The equipment must consider the high-frequency sparker testing capable of producing sufficient voltage and ensuring proper calibration. A probe with the L shape with the 2.4 millimeter diameter wire up of 30.5 centimeter bottom ledge or 12 inches and bent with the half-inch radius with exclusively equally sensitive probe. See a steel calibration of 12 inches by 12 inches cover the same material with the thickness of that has been tested. The material with the coupon shall have the test hole with the metal substrate made of the puncture of the material with a 22 gauge hypodermic needle with a comparable piecing tool. The probe must be passed over the surface of the calibration coupon constant uninterpreted manner until the hole is found. The hole is detected with white and light blue spark. Formed in the sound lining cover with a darker blue purple spark. The voltage must be adjusted to the low setting that will produce a 0.5 half-inch spark measure for the top of the lining of the probe. To ensure that the setting of the probe has not changed, spark tester must be calibrated periodically to use the testing calibration coupon. Same with the power of the source of the probe cable length. 3. After the calibration of the probe must be passed over the lining uninterrupted strokes. Holes that are found with it must be repaired with equipment. The procedure prescribed in the lining manufacturer, the lining installer. Linings made other than rubber elastic material must be tested and used with equipment to proceed with the prescribed lining manufacturer, the lining installer. 3. The degraded defective area of the cargo tank liner must be removed. The cargo tank below the defective must be inspected. The corroded area of the tank of the walls must be thickened. In accordance with paragraph 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 5, 1, 6 of this section. The inspector must record this result of the lining inspection as specified in statute 184.17b. The pressure test. All components of the cargo tank are defined in statute 178.320a. But the subchapter must be pressure tested as prescribed by this paragraph. 1. The test procedure is part of the pressure test that the inspector must perform external, internal, and visual inspection of the MC-338 cargo tank of the cargo tank not equipped with the manhole inspection. Opening internal inspection is not required. All the self-enclosing pressure relief valves, including the emergency relief valve, normal vents must be removed of the cargo tank of the inspection testing according with the requirements of paragraph J of the section. Each of the self-closing pressure relief valves each is an emergency relief vent valve, most often not less than required with a set pressure, not more than 110% of the required set pressure, and not most reach leak tight condition. Not less than 90% of the started to discharge pressure for the pressure prescribed by applicable cargo tank specification. B. Normal vents 1 psi gauge vent must be tested in accordance with the testing of the criteria established with the valve manufacturer. Self-closing pressure relief devices not tested failing to test this paragraph G1-2 must be repaired, replaced. 3. Except for the cargo tank scamming relating to the corrosive of the tank for the area of the coverage of the upper couple of the fifth wheel of the assembly may be inspected with the corroded of the abraded area of the dent, the distortion, defective, and wells, any other condition that might render the tank with unsafe for the transportation, unsafe. In service of the upper couple or fifth wheel of the assembly must be removed with the cargo tank of the inspection. 5. Each of the cargo tank must be tested hydrostatically, pneumatically, internal pressure specified in the following table. At no time during the pressure test may a cargo tank be subjected to the pressure that exceeds the identified following table. 5 is reserved. Each of the 6. Each cargo tank is a multiple tank cargo tank of motor vehicle that must be tested with the adjacent cargo tank of the empty with the atmospheric pressure. 7. The all closure except the pressure of the devices include, but during the test, all prescribed loading and unloading vent devices rated as less than. Test pressure may be removed during the test. The retaining of the device must be rendered inoperative with the clamps and plugs equal to effective of the restraining device. The retaining device may not be open. Prevent detection or leak of the damage preventing the device must be removed immediately after the test is completed. 8. Hydrostatic test method. Each of the cargo tank, including the joints, must be filled with water, other liquid, and similar with the viscosity of the temperature not exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The cargo tank must be pressurized not to less than over the pressurized specified in paragraph G14 of the section of the cargo tank, including the closure must hold the pressure test pressure for at least 10 minutes during the wait for the time is inspected for leakage, bulging, and any other defect. Alright, your pneumatic test device. The pneumatic testing may involve the higher risk of the hydrostatic testing. Therefore, suitable safeguards must be provided for the particular personnel facility should the failure occur during the test of the cargo tank. It must be pressurized with the air over the in-air gap. The pneumatic test pressure of the cargo tank must be per each for the gradual increasing of the pressure. 1/2 the test pressure after the pressure must be increased with a step of approximately 1/10 of the test pressure until the reach of the test pressure have been reached. The test pressure must held at least 5 minutes, but the pressure must be then reduced to MAWP, or which must be maintained during the time of the entire cargo tank surface during the inspection. Suitable method using the fact that the existence leak of the method must consist of either of the coating in the tire surface or all the other joints until under the pressure and solution of the soapy water used with an equal sensitive method. Alright, when testing the insulated cargo tank of the insulation jacket, the need to be removed and left for the otherwise impossible to reach the test pressure, maintain the condition of the pressure equilibrium after the test pressure is reached. The vacuum integrity cannot be maintained. The insulation space for the MC-338 cargo tank that is used for the transportation of flammable gas or for the other pipe. Oxygen refrigerator liquid opening for the end. The reason cleanliness before must be verified prior to the closing. Now view the procedure of the 178-338-15 of the subchapter. The MC-330 and 331 cargo tank constructed with the quench from the temperature for the seal of the accordance with the part with the UHT of section 8 of the ASME code, or construct the other quench for the end temperature seal without post weld heat treatment for the transportation anhydrous ammonia with any of the hazard material that may cover the corrosion stress for the cracking that may be internally inspected before welding. Wet fluorescent magnetic particle method immediately prior to any of the conjunction with the performance of the pressure test prescribed in the section. Each of the MC-330, 331 cargo tanks constructed with quench and temperature still in accordance with the part UHC in the section 8 with the ASME code for the transportation liquid petroleum gas must be internally inspected with the wet fluorescent magnetic particle with the method immediately prior to the conjunction with the performance of the pressure test. When the prescribed with the section of the wet fluorescent magnetic particle inspection must be in accordance with the section 5 of the ASME code of the CGA technical bulletin TB2, and this paragraph does not apply with the cargo tank that does not have manholes. All pressure bearing portions of the cargo tank heating the system with employing with the medium such but not limited to the steam hot water. The heating of the landing of the must be hydrostatically pressure tested at least once every 5 years. The test pressure must be at least the maximum system design operating pressure must be maintained for 5 minutes. Heating system exploring the flues and the heating with the lading must be tested to ensure that against the landing leakage into the flues and into the atmosphere. Exemptions pressure for the testing not required. The MC-330 and 331 cargo tanks of dedicated sodium metal surface pressure testing is not required to do uninsulated line cargo tanks with Design pressure at MAW 15 psi gauge was received with the internal inspection, lining inspection at least once each year. Acceptance criteria. Cargo tank that leak that failed to retain the test prep for the pneumatic inspection prep for the show for the distortion except for the permanent expansion and other evidence of the weakness of the render for the cargo tank of the unsafe for the transportation service may not be returned to the surface except for the foul go to cargo tank with the heating of the ship does not hold the pressure with the remain the surface is unheated with the cargo tank. If the heating system remains in the place then structurally sound with no landing with the main leak from the heating system of the specification plate with the heating system and information chain indicate with the cargo tank of not working the heating system. The inspector must require the result of the pressure test as specified in 184.17b with the leakage test with the following requirements applied with the cargo tank with the requiring leakage test. Each cargo tank must be tested for the leak of the corner for the paragraph C for the section leakage test must include the test product with the piping, the all valve with the accessory of the in plate with the all valves, the accessory with the place for the operative except for the design venting air, any venting device if the device discharged to the left, then leakage test pressure must be removed with the rendering inoperative during the test. All internal external self-closing stop valves must be tested for the leak tightness. Each of the cargo tank over the multi-cargo tank motor vehicle must be tested and the adjacent cargo tanks empty with the atmospheric pressure for the tester. The test pressure must be maintained for at least 5 minutes. The cargo tank and liquid compressed gas surfaces must be externally inspected. The leak with it does not leak and during leaks tests. Suitable safeguards must be provided with to protect the personnel should be a failure of the cargo. The cargo tanks may be leakage test with the hazardous material contained in the cargo tank. During the test, leakage test pressure must not be less than 80% of the MAWP marked with the specification plate exempt as follows. Our cargo tank with the MAW 690 or 100 psi gauge may be leaked with the test maximum normal operation pressure provided by the dedicated services and services. The MC 330 and 331 cargo tank dedicated liquid petroleum gas services may be leaked with the test not less than 60 psi gauge. Operator specification MC 330 and 331 cargo tank of the non-specification cargo tank authorized in Statute 173 315K of the subchapter equipped with the meter with the cheek valve with the tightness of the internal self-clothing stop valve conducting the meter creep of the test. The MC 330 and 331 cargo tank is dedicated and service anhydrous ammonia may be leaked tested not less than 60 psi gauge. Non-specification cargo tank required in 173.8D of the subchapter leakage test must be leaked not less than 2.4 psi gauge specified in the H2 section. The cargo tanks used to transport petroleum distillated fuel that are equipped with the vapor collection. Equipment may be leaked and tested in accordance with the Environmental Agency Method 27 of the determination of vapor tightness gasoline delivery tank with the pressure vacuum test. Set forth in the Appendix A of the Title 40 CFR Part 60 of the test method of the procedure maximum allowable pressure vacuum chamber in Title 49 63.4 to 25E. Hydrostatic Alternative Liquid Environmental Protective Agency D27 the determination of the types of gas delivery tanks using pressure vacuum test. May not be used to satisfy leak test requirements of the paragraph. The test must be conducted using air. The cargo tank that failed to retain leakage test pressure may not be determined with the surface of the specification cargo tank except under the conditions specified in 184.11D. After July 1st, 2000, registered inspector for the specification MC30 and MC31 cargo tanks, non-specification cargo tanks authorized in Statute 173-315K. Subchapter must be visually inspected delivery hose assembly. And piping system with the assembly under the leakage test for the pressure utilizing the rejection criteria listed in 184.16G with the delivery hose attachment not permanently attached to the cargo of the tank motor vehicle may be inspected but separately with the cargo tank motor vehicle using the written record of the inspection prepared within accordance with the statute 184.17B with the registered inspector conducting the test must note the hose identification number the day of the test, the condition of the hose assembly with the piping system. The inspector must record the result of the leakage test as specified in 184.17B. Thickness testing and shell of the head thickness of the online cargo tank must be transportation of the materials covered the tank must be measured with at least once every 2 years may except for the cargo tank is measuring less than some of the minimum prescribed thickness plus 1/5 of the original corrosion allowable must be made and be tested annually. Measurements must be made using a device capable of accurate measuring thickness of plus or minus 0.002 of an inch, and any person performing the thickness must be trained and properly for the use of the thickness testing device using the accordance with the manufacturer instructions. For the thickness of the testing must be performed in the following areas of the cargo tank wall as a minimum: area of the tank shell and the head zone shell with the head area around the piping, the retaining landing area of the high shell stress at the bottom of the center of the tank, the areas near the openings around the welded joints, areas around the shell, in reinforcements. 7 areas around the prudency attachments. 6. 7 areas the near upper coupler, fifth element assembly attachments. 8 the areas near suspension system attachment connection structures. And 9 knowing the areas of the tank shell with the nominal liquid levels. And 10 connectors structurally joining multiple cargo tanks for the carbon steel for the self-supporting cargo tank motor vehicles. Alright, your minimum thickness MC 300, 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, 306, 307, 310, 311, and then 312 cargo tanks are determined based on the definition minimum thickness found in 173.20a with the subchapter. The following tables of 1 and 2 identify the serve the minimum thickness values to determine the minimum thickness for the reference cargo of the column with head and minimum manufacturer thickness indicated the minimum value required for the new construction on the DOT 400 tier with the cargo tanks in tables of 1 and 2 with the statute 178, 346, and 347, 2 with the 1, 348, 2 with the subchapter that interpret the minimum thickness of the MC 300, 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, 306, 307, 310, 311, and 312 of the cargo tanks are based on 90% of the manufactured thickness specified in the DOT specification around 3 bases. 6 and over, the cargo tank no longer conform with the minimum thickness prescribed by the design. The manufacturer may use the cargo tank to transport authorized material with a reduced maximum weight for the landing of the required reduced maximum working pressure for the combination thereof, provided with the following conditions are met. Design certifying engineer was certified by the cargo tank the design the thickness for the appropriate for the reduced loading conditions by issuing the revised manufacturer certificate in the cargo tank and motor vehicle. The main plate with reflect with the revised service limit. An owner of the cargo tank that no longer conform with the minimum thickness prescribed by the specification may not return with the cargo tank with the hazardous material surface of the tank specification plate must remove the obliterated cover in a secure manner. The inspector will record the result with the thickness is specified in 184.17b. For the MC331 cargo tank with the constructed before October 1st, 2003, the minimum thickness shall be determined by the thickness indicated in the U1A for the minus for the corrosion allowances of the MC331 cargo tanks constructed October 1st, 2003. The minimum thickness will be the value indicated on the specification plate with no corrosion allowance indicated for the U1A. For the thickness of the tank, it shall be the thickness of the material for the construction indicated the U1A for the non-corrosion allowances. For the 400 series cargo tank, the minimum thickness is calculated in accordance with the tables in the applicable sections of the subchapter of the specification 178, 346.2 and the DOT 406 cargo tank, the 178, 347.2 and the DOT 407 cargo tanks, 178, 348.2 and the DOT 412 cargo tanks. Pressure vent bench shaft of the required the section pressure relief valve must be tested in proper function as followed. Each self-closing pressure relief valve must be reset to test the leak tight condition of the pressure prescribed by the applicable cargo test specification valve with the pressure MC306 cargo tank. With the MC306 reclosing pressure relief valve, there must be not less than 3 psi, not more than 4.4 psi, and receive the leak tight check condition, not less than 2.7 psi. With the reclosing pressure relief valve modified provided with 180.405 of the form of the DOT 406 specification, according to the pressure set forth in DOT 406 cargo tank 178.346.3 of the subchapter of MC307 cargo tank of the MC307 reclosing relief valve must be open not less than the cargo tank of the MAWP with more than 110% of the cargo tank of the MAWP must receive the leak tightness condition with not less than 90% of the cargo tank of the MAWP. The reclosing pressure relief valve is modified with the provided with the statute 180.405 to conform with the DOT 407 of the specifications according to the pressure set forth in DOT 407 the cargo tank of the 178.347.4 of the chapter. For the MC312 cargo tank of the MC312, the reclosing pressure relief valve must open not less than the cargo tank of the MAWP, but not more than 110% of the cargo tank of the MAWP must receive leak tightness condition not less than 89% of the cargo tank of MAWP. Alright, B, with reclosing pressure relief valve with the modified with the provided within the statute 180.405 with the conform, C, with the conform of the DOT 412 with the specification according with the pressure set forth in the DOT 412 the cargo tank of the statute 178.348.4 of the subchapter. The MC330 and 331 cargo tanks must be open not less than the required set pressure, not more than 100% with the required set pressure must receive the leak tight condition, not less than 9% of the required set pressure. For the DOT 400 series cargo tank, according with the pressure set forth in the applicable cargo tank specification 178.346.3, 178.347.4, 178.348.4, respectively of the subchapter. 5. The cargo tank is not specified in the paragraphs must open not less than required in set pressure, not more than 110% required in set pressure. They must receive the leakage in tight condition, not less than 90% required. The set pressure is prescribed in the applicable cargo tank specification. 2. Normal vents 1 psi gauge vent must be tested according to the test criteria established valve malfunction manufacturer. Alright, 3. The self-closing pressure relief device must not tested failing to test the paragraph J1 of the section must be repaired and replaced. All right. You're 180,409. Minimum qualification inspectors and testers. Except otherwise provided in Section any person performing the witnessing, inspection, and testing specified in 180,407C, when they may be registered with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administrator in accordance with Part 107 Subpart F of the chapter fulfilling with the dot specification, cargo tank trained with experience and use of the inspection of the testing equipment needed, and have the training experience required to meet the definition of registered inspection in Statute 171.8 of the chapter. Any person who only performs annual external visual inspection of the leakage test for the cargo tank motor vehicle owner and operated by the former person capacity less than 3,500 gallons, usually exclusively flammable liquid petroleum fuel, is not required to meet the educational year for the experience requirements set forth in the definition registered and inspected in Statute 171A of the subchapter, although not required to meet the educational and the years of experience requirement of the person who performed the visual inspection of the leak test signs of the inspection reports must have an eligibility to perform such inspection testing and must perform the required from the subchapter that must register with the department as required in subpart F of the Part 107 of the chapter. Any person who performs only an annual external visual inspection leakage with a permanently mounted with a non-bulk tank with an own tank owned and operated with the person and petroleum products authorized in Statute 173 8C, subchapter not required with the register in accordance with subpart F of the Part 107 in the chapter, but in each. In addition, with the person who signed with the inspection report was required in Statute 108.417b, subpart for each of the non-bulk tanks is not required to be registered, although not required to register the person who performs visual inspection and leakage tests. Such inspection reports must have knowledge of the ability to perform such inspection testing and must be performed as required for the subchapter. A motor carrier cargo tank owner with the must be required with the requirements of the paragraph A of the section may be employed to meet the register the inspector perform the portion of the pressure prevent retest required in the statute 180.407G with external and internal visual inspection must be accomplished with the registered inspector for the hydrostatic pneumatic pressure test is set forth in statute 180.407G 1, 5, 7, and 9. 8 and 9 respectively may be done with an employee who is not registered inspector provided that the employer is familiar with the cargo tank and is trained with experience with the use of the inspection and testing equipment. The employer submits to the certifying such employees meet with the qualification requirements of the Associate Administrator or 10 PAH 32 the Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration, Department of Transportation, East Building, 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. 20590. The employer retains a copy of the test or qualification with the document required in 184.17b. Art 184.11. Acceptable result of the test and inspection. Corroded and abraded air with the minimum thickness may not be left within the prescribed applicable specification. Dents and cut the digs and gouges for the evaluation proceeded in CGA C6 for the dents and welds that include the weld maximum allowable dents of the 1/2 inch of the dents allowable the welds maximum allowable depth of 1/10 of the graded dimension of the dent within in no case many of the depth is 1 inch. It must not exceed 1 inch. Minimum thickness remaining beneath the cut and dig of the gouges may not be left within prescribed in the applicable specification. Welding instructions to defect with the cargo tank of the weld defect such with the crack, pinhole with a complete fusion. Structural defects must be taken out of hazardous material service until repaired. D. Leakage. All sorts of leakage must be properly repaired prior to the returning of the tank of the hazardous material service. The relief valves, any previous relief valve failure to open and reclose. Prescribed pressure must be repaired per place. Liner integrity of defects shown with the test must be properly repaired. Pressure test any tank that fails to meet the current substance criteria found in the individual specification piles applied must be properly repaired. 184.13 Repair, modification, sketching, rebarreling, mounting with the specification cargo tanks. Generally, any repair, modification, sketching, rebarreling, mounting with the cargo tank must be performed in conformance with the requirements of the section. Except with otherwise provided in section, repair, modification, stretching, and rebarreling and specification cargo tank must be performed. The repair holding facility valid national board certificate authorization for the national board R stamp must be made in accordance with the addition of the national board inspection code in effect for the time that was performed. Repairs, modifications, sketching, stretchings, rebarrelings performed with the ASME stamp of the specified cargo tanks may be performed by a cargo tank manufacturer holding with a valid ASME certificate authorization for use of the ASME use stamp of the using the quality control with the procedure to obtain the certificate of the authorization. B. A repair for the holding facility with a valid national board certificate authorization for the use of the national board R stamp using the quality control procedure to obtain the certificate of the authorization. 2. A repair, modification, stretching, and the rebarreling with a non-ASME stamped cargo tank may be done without certification of the authorized inspector completion of the R1 form or being stamped with the R stamp. 3. The repair defined with the statute 184.03 with the dot specification cargo tank even for transportation hazardous material of the United States may be performed in the facility in Canada, according to the Transportation Canada, the Trade and Dangerous Goods regulations provided. The faculty hold the valid certification, authorization, provisional, vessel per jurisdiction, and repair the facility registered in accordance with the Transportation Canada Transportation Dangerous Goods Regulations. Repair the correspondence with the TC specification. All repairs and performance review for the quality control procedures review for the obtaining the certificate of authorization. 2. The prior to each repair, modification, stretching, and rebarreling, mounting with the cargo tank of the motor vehicle that must be emptied with any of the hazardous material landing in addition for the cargo tank of motor vehicle value for the transportate physical, flammable, toxic lading must be sufficiently clean and residual purge of the vapors so any petition have the remove of the including the voided space between the double the bulkhead and pipe of the vapor recovery system. Each person in performing the repairing of the modification, track, sketching, and repairing with the mounting of the dot specification cargo tank must be registered in accordance with the subpart F of the part 107 of the subchapter. B. Repair suitable. Each of the repair affecting the structural integrity of the landing of the retention capable of the cargo tank must be determined with the test for them required for the either applicable manufacturer specification 180.407 G1 4 except for the repair performed in the facility of the Canada in accordance with the area of A13 of the section of each of the repair of the cargo tank involved in the welding on the shell head must be certified by the register and inspect the following provisions apply to the specific cargo tank repairs. Dot 406, 407, and dot 412 cargo tanks must be repaired in accordance with these specification requirements in effect at the time of the repair. The MC 300, 301, 302, 303, 305, 306 cargo tanks must be repaired in accordance with either the most recent revision of the original specification or within the dot 406 specification in effect at the time of the repair. The MC 304 and 307 cargo tanks must be repaired in accordance with either the most recent revision of the original specification with the dot 407 specification in effect at each of the time of the repair. The MC 310, 311, and 312 cargo tank must be repaired in accordance with either the most recent revision of the original specification with the dot 412 specification in effect at the time of the repair. The MC 338 cargo tank must be repaired with accordance with the specified requirements in the effect at the time of the repair. MC 330 and 331 cargo tanks must be reported in accordance with the procedure prescribed in CGA Technical Bulletin TB2 and the National Board Inspector Code. Each cargo tank having cracks other than defects during the welded repairs must meet all the inspection testing of the heat treatment the requirements of Statute 178, 337, 16. Subchapter in effect at the time of the repair, except for the post-heat weld heat treatment after the mounting of weld repair is not required. The repair is made. The defects revealed the wet fluorescent magnetic particle inspection, including those repaired and grinding the effect of the area of the cargo tank, must be assigned. Must be again examine the wet fluorescent magnetic particle method by hydrostatic testing to ensure that all defects have been removed. Maintenance, replacing of the piping valve and the hose fittings after each of the repair. Maintenance with the replacement of the pipe of the valve with the hose fittings of the cargo. The component must be installed within accordance with the provision applicable to the specified before and cargo tank is returned to service. One after the maintenance of the replacement that does not involve the welding on the cargo tank of the wall, with a repair of the replacement of the piping, the valve, of the hose, and fitting must be tested for the leak. The requirements of the mat blend, the piping, the valve, of the hose, fitting is tested after installation in accordance with Statute 180.407H1. The hose may be tested before and after the installation of the cargo tank. After the replacement of the piping, the valve, the fittings involved with the welding of the cargo tank must be pressurized to test in accordance with the applicable manufacturer specification of the 180.407G14. In addition, with the effective piping valve of the fitting must be tested in accordance with paragraph C1 of the section. Over the cargo tank's dedicated liquid compressed gas except with the carbon dioxide. Surface accepted from the testing requirements must be tested in accordance with the Statute 184.16. After the modification, stretching, rebarreling, modification, stretching, the rebarreling of the cargo tank motor vehicle must conform with the following provision. The design of the modified stretch of the rebarrel cargo tank of the motor vehicle must be certified with the writing of the design certifying engineer meeting with the structural integrity of this accidental damage protection requirement, the applicable specification. Exempt as provided in paragraph D2 of the section, all new materials, equipment that effective with the modification, stretching, with the rebarreling, meeting with the requirements of the specification, effective at the time, such of the perform, and all applicable structural integrity requirements of Statute 178.337.8.3 and 178.338.3 and 178.345.3 of the subchapter of the work must be conformed with the requirements of the applicable specification as follows. For specification MC 300, 301, 302, 303, 305, 306, cargo tank provisions, even the specification MC 306 of the dot 406 until the August 31st, 1995. Thereafter, specification dot 406 only. For specification of the 304, 307 cargo tank of the provision, either specification of the MC 307 or dot 407 until August 31st, 1995. Thereafter, to the specification dot 407 only. For specification of the MC 310, 311, 312 cargo tank of the provision, either specification MC 312 of the dot 412 until the August 31st, 1995. Thereafter, specification dot 412 only. For specification of the MC-330 cargo tank of the provision specification MC-331, the specification of the MC-338 cargo tank provision specification MC-338, however, the structural modification of the MC-338 cargo tank authorized in Statute 18405D may conform with the applicable provisions of the ASME Code and thread of the provision specification MC-338 provided. Structural integrity modified with the cargo tank, the least equivalent of the original cargo tank. The person performing the modification, stretching, and the rebelling must have the knowledge of the original design concept, particularly with respect to structural design analysis of the welding procedure. Assure compliance with the rebuilt with the cargo tank structural integrity, venting with the accidental damage protection with the applicable specification requirement, the assurance of the compliance with the applicable the federal motor carrier safety and regulations on that newly installed with the safety and equipment, ensure the suitability of the modification, stretching of the rebelling, and effective relating the retention capability of the cargo tank with the performing the test required with the applicable specifications in 18407 G14. Any modification change with the information displayed in specification plate with required the installation supplemental specification and nameplate of the both containing with the information reflect for the cargo tank and modified stretch the rebear with the plate must include the name of the person with the facility during the work, the date, registration number, the date of the work, include the retesting information, any of the other information to differ from the original plate with the supplemental plates must be installed immediately adjacent to the existing plates or plates. On a variable specification cargo tank installed with the supplemental new variable specification plate with a replaceable specification listed on original specification plate with the word C variable specification plate. A registered inspector may certify with the modified stretch of rebarrel cargo tank with the conformance with the requirements of the section with the Apple specification issuing a supplemental certificate with the compliance with the registration number of the regular cert. Inspector must be turned on the certificate. The mounting of the cargo tank, the mounting of the cargo tank is the cargo tank motor vehicle must be 1. Performance required with the paragraph D2 with the section certified with the design certifying engineer with the mounting of the cargo tank of the motor vehicle chassis involved with the welding on the cargo tank of the head with the shell any chain of the modification with the methods attachments and in accordance with the original specification attachment to the chassis specification with attachment to chassis and effect with the time of the mounting of the performed on the supervision of the registered inspector mounting of the cargo tank of the motor vehicle chassis does not involve the welding of the cargo tank head shell changing modification method of attachment. F. The records. Each owner of the cargo tank motor vehicle must retain all the owner's principal place of business, all the records, repair, modification, stretching of the rebaling, including the notation of any tests to conduct with verifying the suitability of the repair, modification, stretching of the rebaling made at each of the cargo tank during each of the time of the cargo tank motor vehicle service the 1 year after. Copy of the records must retain the motor carrier. If not, the owner of the cargo tank motor vehicle and its principal place for the business during the period the cargo tank motor vehicle is in the carrier's service. Alright, 184.15 Testing Inspection Marking. Each of the cargo tanks successfully testing inspection requirements contained in 18407 was marked and specified in the section. Each of the cargo tank must be durable, legibly marked in English with the date, month, and year, and the type of the test and inspection performed subject to the following provision. The date must be readily identified with the applicable test and inspection. The markings must be letters numbered at least 1¼ inches high near the specified plate with anywhere with the front of the head. The type of the test and inspection abbreviated as follows: V, external visual inspection for the test; I, for the internal visual inspection; P, for the pressure test; L, for the lining inspection; T, for the thickness test; for the K, for the leakage check for the cargo tank of the test in 18407, except for the 18407H2. KEPA 27 of the cargo tested under the statute 18407H2 after October 1st, 2001. For the cargo tank materials component with the multiple cargo tank with the construction of the same specification tested and inspected at the same time, and on one test set of tests and markings may be used to specify the requirements of the section. For the cargo tank motor vehicle composed multiple cargo tanks constructed with a different specification with the testing and inspected with a different interval of testing and inspection markings must appear in accordance with the cargo tanks corresponding location from the front of the rear. Alright, 184.16, the discharge system inspection maintenance program of the cargo tank of the transportation of the liquid compressed gas. Applicability section applicability operated under the specification MC330 and 331 specification specification cargo tanks authorized in statute 173.315K with the subchapter the transportation of liquid compressed gases other than carbon dioxide, paragraphs B, C, D1, D5, E, and 5, F, and G1. The section applicable to delivery of the hose assembly apply only to those hose assembly installed with the carried on the cargo tank. Hose identified with the job by July 1st, 2001. The operator may assure that each of the delivery hose assembly is permanently marked with a unique identification number, the maximum working pressure. See the post-delivery hose check. Each of the unloading, the operator must visually check for the portion of the delivery hose assembly deployed during the unloading. D. The monthly inspection test and the operating must be visually inspected each of the delivery hose and assembly at least once a week each for the calendar month the delivery of the hose assembly is in service. The operator must visually inspect the piping system at least once each calendar month of the cargo tank of the server. The inspector must include the usable elements for all components of the piping system, including both the connections and seals. At least once each of the calendar month of the cargo tank of the server, the operator must accurately acute all emergency discharge control devices designed to close the internal self-closing stop valve to ensure that all linkages operate disengage. Designed in Appendix A of the part outlines acceptable procedure that may be used as a test. For the operator, the cargo tank must check with the internal self-closing stop valve with liquid discharge opening with the leakage through the valve at least once each calendar month with the cargo tank of the service. On cargo tanks equipped with the meter creep with the test outline on Appendix B with the power over the test provided with equivalent current accuracy with acceptable. The cargo tanks are not equipped with the meter or Appendix B with the part of the outline is acceptable enough that may be used to check internal self-closing stop valve for the closure. 5. The operator must know each of the inspection record. The record must be included in the inspection date and time of the name of the performer of the inspection, the hose assembly, the identification number of the manufacturer of the hose assembly, the date of the hose assembly tested and inspected, and that delivery hose assembly pipe in the system passed or failed the test of inspection. The operator must retain the copy of each of the test inspection required record principal place of the business where the vehicle is housed and maintained with the next hose and the test for the same type successfully completed. Annual hose leakage test. The owner delivery hose assembly was not permanently attached to the cargo tank motor vehicle must be ensured the hose of assembly is annually tested in accordance with the statute 180-407H4. Alright, new and repaired delivery hose assembly. Each operator of the cargo tank must ensure that each of the new repaired delivery hose assembly is tested with a minimum of 120% hose maximum working pressure. The operator must visually examine the delivery hose while it is under pressure. Unsuccessful completion of the pressure test inspection operation must ensure delivery hose assembly is permanently marked within the month and the year of the test. After the 1st of July, the operator must complete with the record documentation, testing, inspection, including with the signature for the inspector, hose owner, with the hose identification number, the day of the original delivery hose assembly test, note for the defects observed with the repair made for the identification of the delivery hose assembly, passed or failed with the test, the inspection, copy of each of the tests, inspection record with must be retained the operator with the principal aid for the business for where the vehicle is however maintained with the next test with the same type of successfully completed. G. Rejection criteria. No operator may use the delivered hose assembly determined that they have any condition identified below unloading the liquid compressed gas. An operator may remove the replaced damaged section with a corrective to defect to discover the replaced. Repaired hose and assemblies may be placed in the back and the server to retest successfully in accordance with the paragraph F of the section I. 1. Damage to the hose cover that is exposed to the reinforcements. 2. Where the wire braided reinforcement has been kinked or flattened so that it permanently deformed the wire braid. 3. The soft spots were not under the pressure bulging under pressure loosening out or coupling. 4. The damage slipping the successfully worn hose couplings. 5. The loosening of the missing bolt of lasting out on bolted hose coupling assembly. 2. No operator may use the cargo tank with a piping system found to have any of the conditions identified in the paragraph of G2. The unloading of the liquid compressed gas and any external leak identified without use of the instrument. 2. The bolts and loose of the missing severely corroded. 3. The manual stop valve will not accurate. 4. The rubber housing the flexible connector for any condition outlined in paragraph G1 of the section. 5. Stainless steel flexible connectors and damaged reinforcement braids. 6. The internal self-closing stop valve fails to close with the permanent leakage through the valve detectable within the use of the instruments. And 7. The pipe joints that are severely corroded. Alright, 184.17, reporting record retention requirements. The vehicle certification. Each of the owner's specification cargo tank must retain manufacturer certification manufacturer ASME A1A data report applicable with a related paper certifying when the specification cargo tank and identified with the documents was manufactured, tested in accordance with the applicable specification. This would include any certification of emergency discharge control systems required in the statute 173.315N, subchapter 180, 405M of this owner must retain the documents throughout the ownership of the specified cargo tank. For 1 year after the event of the change of the ownership, the prior owner must retain the non-fading photocopy of the document for the 1 year. Each motor carrier will use the specification cargo tank motor vehicle that must obtain with a copy of the manufacturer certificate, related papers, or alternative authorized paragraphs A3, 1, or 2 with this section retained with the document specified in the paragraph A2. Motor carrier who does not own with the cargo of the tank of motor carrier must also retain with a copy of the vehicle for certification, and as long as the cargo tank motor vehicle is used by the carrier for 1 of the year thereafter, the information required with the section maintained with the company's principal plate for the business and location where the vehicle is housed or maintained. The provisions of this section does not apply with the motor carrier who leases a cargo tank for less than 30 days. DOT specification cargo tanks manufactured before September 1st, 1995, non-ASME code stamp cargo tanks. If the owner does not have the manufacturer certificate for the cargo tanks, either he wishes to certify the specification cargo tank, the owner must perform the appropriate test and inspection under direct supervision and regular registered inspection to determine if the cargo tank conforms to the application specification. But the owner and registered inspector must certify that the cargo tank is fully conform to the applicable specification. The owner must retain certificate as specified in this section. To the ASME code stamp cargo tank. If the owner does not have the manufacturer certificate required with the specification of the manufacturer date with the reported required with the ASME, the owner may contact with the National Board with a copy of the manufacturer's data with the report of the cargo tank at the register for the National Board, a copy of the information contained on the cargo tank identified with the ASME code plate with this. Additionally, plate with the owner of the registered inspector must certify that the cargo tank fully conforms to the specification and must retain the documents specified in this section. Test inspections reporting each of the performing the test inspection specified in 18407 must prepare a written report with the English in accordance with the paragraph. Each of the test inspection report must include the following information: the owner's manufacturer unique serial number for the cargo tank, under the name of the cargo tank manufacturer, the cargo tank dot or MC specification, the MAW cargo tank of the minimum thickness for the cargo tank shell with the heads for the cargo tank of the condition tested in accordance with the 108, 407D5, the 407E3, 407F3, and 407-1. Or I. Indication whether the cargo tank is aligned or installed with both, indicating special service for the cargo tank, the transport material, the corrosive of the tank, dedicated, etc. Each test inspection report must include the following specification information appropriate to each of the individual type of the test specification. Each test inspection performed, the date of the test inspection, monthly and the year, list of the items tested and inspected during the information for the pressure relief device. If they are removed and inspecting tested, the replay for the apple, the type of the test, the discharge pressure of the pressure at which the device open, pressure at which the device received the statement of the disposition of the device, the reinstalled, repaired, replaced, or information regarding the inspection output, coupler assembly when applicable, visually examined and play for the removal of examination information regarding leakage and pressure testing, applicable to pneumatic of the hydrostatic and testing method, identification fluid, use for the testing and testing pressure, hole testing, the location of the defects found, the method of repair, the ASME National Board certificate, authorization number for the performance repair, if applicable, the name and address of the person performing the test, registration number for the of the facility of the person performing the test, continuing qualification statement such for the cargo tank, meet the requirements of the DOT specification identified by the report in the cargo tank failed to meet the requirements of the DOT specification identified in this report. The DOT registered number, the registered inspector date, the inspector registered for the inspector of the cargo tank owner. The owner of motor carrier did not own, not the owner must each retain with a copy of the test inspection report until the next test inspection with the same type of successfully completed. The requirements does not apply with the motor carrier leasing cargo tank for fewer than 30 days. Additional requirements of specification over the MC 330 and 331 cargo tanks after completion of the pressure tested. Specified in 18407G3 of the motor carrier operating specification MC 330 and 331, cargo tank of the anhydrous ammonia liquid petroleum gas, any other surface that may cause stress, corrosion, cracking must be written with a report containing with the following information: when the carrier's name and address of the principal plate for the business telephone, the complete identification plate with the data required in the specification MC 330 and 331, including the data required, the MSC code carrier's equipment number, the statement indicating whether or not the tank was stressed or relieved after fabrication, name, the address of the person performing the test and date of the test. 6. The statement, the nature of the severity of any of the defects found. Particular information must be furnished and indicate the location of the defects detected, such as well the heated effects of the dome, liquid phase, the vapor phase, with the head to shell seam that does not affect the damage of the discovered in the fact must be reported. A statement indicating the method to employ with the make a repair with the made with the repair of the date with the completed all statements whether or not the tank was stressful relieved after the repairs or whether the full photo logo stress relieving of the performance statement of the disposition cargo tank such as cargo tank. Scrap the cargo tank, return the surface of the statement whether or not the cargo tank is used with anhydrous and liquid petroleum gas with any other surface that may cover the stress, corrosion, cracking. Also, the cargo tank has been in the anhydrous ammonia surface since for the last reporting statement indicating whether in each of the shipment of ammonia was certified with the shipper as a container of 0.2% water or by weight. A copy of the report must be retained by the carrier of the principal plate for the business during the period of the cargo tank of the carrier service for 1 year thereafter upon the written request within the approval of the field administrative regional service center for the Federal Motor Safety Administrator for the region of the motor carrier has been principal place of business. Carrier may maintain reports of the regional terminal office. 3. The requirement in paragraph C1 of the section does not apply with the motor carrier leasing with a cargo tank for less than 30 days. The supplying certificate of the reports of any person with the DOT specification cargo tank for the sale of the lease must provide with the purchaser, leaser, A copy of the cargo tank certificate with a compliance record, the repair, modification, stretching, bury bailing, and the most recent inspection of the test reports made under this section. Copies of such reports must be provided for the lease term when the cargo tank is less than lease for more than 30 days. Subpart F, qualification of maintenance cars of maintenance qualification and maintenance of the tanker cars. Subpart F.